What up, everybody? It's your boy Evan, one half of Emmeff Pearl. We got the other half sitting behind the cameras, making sure that we rolling. Say what up, David.
Hey everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We back at it. We've been going hard. We needed to take a little quick break because we've been freaking filming too many. So it's really nice to just be settling into this podcast. I just want to go ahead and remind you guys at the beginning of this episode this time. Whatever you're watching it on, if it's on YouTube, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys give it a like. If you guys are checking this out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or I think like Amazon or something like that, whatever podcast you guys got, make sure that you give it a rating. Make sure you save it, whatever you can to show some love on those platforms so that way we can keep growing this. If you go ahead and subscribe, follow Emmeff Pearl wherever you can. You can keep up with Midnight Sessions and all of our episodes of MFHQ. But you know what it is. You know where we at every single time. Live at MFHQ. Disclaimer. Live at MFHQ is in fact not recorded live. It's actually a pre-recorded program. This episode contains sexually explicit content, so feel free to do what you wish with that information. If you could be so kind of like, follow, and subscribe from me. We go very long with new episodes every Wednesday. Now back to the show. Yes, sir.
Yep.
That was clean.
I like it.
My cleanest one to date.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yes, sir. Yo. So today, big dog, icon in the city, one of the pioneers of El Paso photography. As soon as we've been making waves online, as soon as we've been sharing our work in the digital space and everything's become a lot more socialized, he's been one of the ones leading the way. He started off with, local projects, becoming a legend of the local area. But at this point, man, he's traveling the world, going ahead and doing all sorts of projects across festivals, lifestyle projects, corporate projects, just documenting a lot of culture all over the world at this point. Yo, serious inspiration to me. Been following a lot of the work throughout all these years, especially like recently as I grow into mine. I need some inspo. I need to see who's been doing this so I can learn from it. LFDC, live from the corner, live at MFHQ. We got AB, AB Gonzalez. Yes, sir.
that was quite the intro.
Let's go.
I love it.
Yeah.
Damn, that actually meant a lot to me. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. Have to, man. Legends only in the building.
Let's go.
Legends only in the building.
Including y'all, both of you guys.
Try to be. Well, you are an icon within photography, so I feel like maybe we can go ahead and start right there.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm curious. Where does photography start per se?
Well, personally, in my life, photography started as early as high school. Our sophomore year, my sophomore year, going into junior year, that's when I started photography. So that was 2014 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or 2015. I graduated in 16, so yeah, it was 2014. I just started getting this interest into photography. What really kind of allowed me to start right away was when I was younger. I was in a lot of sports, and my mom had purchased a camera. Mm-hmm. From there, she didn't really ended up using it a lot, so I just started using it. At the time, though, what I was taking photos of, what I really liked taking photos of was like clothing. Honestly, I used to collect a lot of shoes back in the day. During high school, I used to be a sneakerhead.
Sneakerhead.
That's what it's called. Yeah. Wow. It kind of escaped me. But now I still kind of am, I guess. But now I kind of just buy whatever is comfortable for work.
Yeah.
But that's when it started. Instagram was still pretty fresh, still pretty new. So I would use that as my platform. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't think that I would get me this far. It was just something I was doing like for fun, as an outlet, after homework type of thing. But over that summer, I started getting really heavy into it, along with one of my best friends and now partner, Edison Rodriguez. He had an interest in video, and I had an interest in photos. So from there, what ended up happening was we started asking just random people to take photos. We would take photos of the shoes that we would buy. And Edison, too, he was also really into flipping clothes and shoes, too.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of just messing around with it. We had another really close friend. His name is, we have another close friend. His name is Chris Briones. Mm-hmm. He was a little older than us, so he was just a grade above us. So he had a car, so he would kind of just, we would just cruise that all day pretty much during the summer and just take photos of whatever we thought was cool.
Yeah.
At the time, we really enjoyed we used Instagram as an inspiration. So as we started getting away from the shoes and the clothes and all that, we started doing a lot of urban photography and videography. One of I don't know if you remember or if you know about one of the very first photographers I ever saw on my Instagram ever was I think his name is Timmy, but his handle is 13 Witness. He lived in New York, and at the time he was pretty much the only one I saw getting like that like gritty of street photography of New York, but he had access to a lot of cool and unique places.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that in El Paso. At the time, we were just going out to downtown. It was before downtown was also like moving and jumping.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot of fun downtown. There's a lot of
huh?
things. The city has grown a lot. But at the time when we started, there wasn't really much to shoot. But we would make the most out of it. We would take photos of what is now the Plaza Hotel, which was I forgot I'm sorry, not the Plaza. It was a Camino Real. We would take photos of the Camino Real, whatever. We would just kind of hang out downtown and take photos. What I'm sure a lot of people do now. And that was kind of where I started. That was where it transitioned into kind of more of a hobby, a little bit more of a hobby. I wasn't getting paid for any work yet. I wasn't, I didn't have any assignments or anything. I was just doing it for fun, learning as I went. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much where it started.
What kind of sneakers were you getting at first? You ever do Roches?
Well, actually, I think I missed the whole Roche's sneaker.
Faux, you know what I mean?
Yeah, same thing.
Straight up.
I mean, at the time, I was using my own money. I would just do little jobs and here and there. But I was getting into, for some reason, I had this weird thing with foam posits. I really liked foam posits.
Damn.
Yeah. Really uncomfortable shoe. And they're really wild too.
Yeah.
Those, and then I was at the time, what was in was like the basketball shoe. Like the people were wearing out basketball shoes a lot. So remember all that? Like it was like around that era of where basketball shoes was pretty much like casually worn.
I'm just visualizing.
I remember all that. Yeah, that was I was in high school when all that was happening. So it was a lot. I had like LeBrons. I had.
Bronze, big chunky shoes.
Yeah, huge, massive
shoes.
Yeah, and I wasn't even a basketball player. I was just wearing these shoes. What else did I had? I had a lot of Jordans. I was really into Jordans. But yeah, that's pretty much where it started. There used to be an Instagram account that I used to follow when I was younger called The Perfect Pair.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like this one guy had like every shoe that had ever been made. I don't know how he did it, but well, whatever. So that was also, he was also a photographer on the side. So he would take really cool photos of his inventory or his like daily pickups or whatever. So that was like one of the very first. I was like, oh, that's dope. I mean, I have shoes and I like to take photos. So, I mean, it was kind of an easy connection for me. Definitely way more into like the clothing and shoes and all that than I was photography. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like way more obviously into photography. It's my job now. Real. But yeah,
man. While it's a hobby, as it's like it's kind of growing as a hobby, not necessarily really getting paid for it yet. What are you doing alongside at this time? What are your eyes targeted on? Have you graduated high school at this point?
Well, at the time, I don't think I was really ever thinking about making photography a job or a career. To me, it never became like lucrative. At the time I still wanted to go to college. I was still into school. Mm-hmm. At the time, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
True.
And I am horrible at math. True. Like that doesn't even make any sense. But I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, and I was going to like summer programs and all that. And I just that's what I had my eyes on. like the money thing, and didn't really end up ever coming into play until a little later. But at the time, yeah, it was never in my mind like, oh, that's going to be my job and that's
Yeah,
going to
no,
be
I
my.
mean, like, sorry, not to interrupt.
No,
Like
no, no,
during
please.
during this time, it wasn't really a thing to be like a paid photographer,
No,
especially in El Paso. You know what I
in
mean?
El Paso, like if you were a photographer, you
Super
weren't.
corporate. You know
You
what I mean?
weren't. Yeah, either you were taking headshots of just professionals, or that, or really honestly what it was at the time was taking photos of family functions, um quinceañeras, weddings, like those, like at the time, like your breadwinners of photography were those people
Yeah.
that were covering the family events. And I never had an interest in that. I always I mean, I think in my career I did like two quinceañeras,
Oh,
maybe like maybe one or two weddings. I remember one wedding specifically, but maybe I did a second one here and there. But yeah, I knew that I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. Um, but yeah, at the time, if you were a photographer, like people were going out to you because you were very, it was a very like your job was to capture moments, which is my job now. But I'm talking about it in like a family
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at the time, I wasn't thinking about photography being like any lucrative at all, or any making any money. I just solely at the time saw it as a hobby.
Yeah. Man. What's the? I guess then what's the turning point? We're kind of like traversing through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
timeline real quick. What's
Yeah.
the turning point where you think,
Well, I could tell you my first paying job that I ever got.
you remember like Mr. Krabs' first dollar?
Yeah, I remember. I remember my first job. My first paying job was actually this some really good friends, really close friends. J and K Present. They were my first paying gig ever. Shouts out to them. They really trusted. They trusted pretty much a 16, 17-year-old. No, I was 16. To take some promo photos for a. So J&K Present is a nightlife promoting company, also a hospitality group based in El Paso. They do Lost and Found, Later, and Hush. And I don't know if this is gonna stay in, but it doesn't.
Yeah, we're gonna put the invitations in.
Yeah, they're really close friends. All of them over there, consider them family. But they before they owned any bars or anything, they would have something called a brunch, and it was it was a do you remember the brunches? Yeah, okay. So those were my first paying gigs, but specifically the first paying job I ever got was I had to take photos for a flyer, for pretty much just like a brunch flyer. The reason I got the gig is because crazy, honestly, the person that the girl that was on the flyer, she hit me up randomly same day, like, hey, are you available at 4 p.m. to take photos? This company that pretty much got me to be like on the flyer, their photographer bailed. Can you come through today? And I think it was like 11, and I was like, yeah, for sure. Like I same day, I didn't even think about getting paid. I was just, like, I just wanted to do it. And sure enough, I pull up, we do the shoot, we do like the shoot with her name is Kimberly. Shout out Kimberly for referring me to my first paying job ever. But I asked Edison, my boy Chris. At the time, we were in a high. Chris was our homie. Also, he was also interested into the arts too. But he had the car, and then Edison was doing video. So it was kind of, if you invited me, you were inviting us three pretty much. Yeah, that was the squad. Did the shoot, got paid, and that was the first paying job ever. The J and K guys, they ended up really liking the photos from the flyer. I remember I was so nervous. I was waiting in the car. I remember I was so nervous at that point to take photos because the client, the J and K guys, they told me they were going to be there, and they were definitely there. They were pretty much seeing how I was doing. They didn't watch every move I made, but I mean they were like kind of hovering, which is good, just to make sure that I was going in the right direction, and thankfully I did. But I remember in the car, like right before the shoot was gonna start, I was nervous. So Chris put on this Odd Future song called Oldie. It's a 10-minute song, and I think there was 10 minutes left in till the shoot was gonna happen. I think that it was like 3:50, and the shoot was at 4, whatever. So we put that on, and we kind of got hyped, and I don't know. It was a little ritual that we had at that point. And yeah, we went out and we did it, and we crushed it. But from there, they ended up liking the photos so much that I started to shoot their actual brunch parties. So I would go on to the brunches, which were, I think, once a month or once every 2 months. I forgot how often they were, and I would pretty much just take photos of these parties, the DJs and the people that would go and all that. And then from there, those would pay me, not a lot, obviously, but yeah, that's how it was. Like the very first monetary like exchange that I had as a photographer, and I saw it at that point as like, oh, like money to just buy clothes, or like, or like to hang out with my friends, to go out on the weekends. I was 16, 17. We weren't really going out, which is crazy that I was taking photos at these parties. So it felt like I was going out. On Sundays, I unfortunately, I had to lie to my parents that I was going to, a bar, pretty much. It wasn't a bar. It was a venue. I was going to a venue, a club, to take photos of. I would tell them that I would go hang out with my homies, but I would pretty much just get someone to drop me off at these brunches and work, and they would pick me, and then I would have my brother pick me up or a friend pick me up, and we would go back home like if nothing happened. Yeah,
Hustle.
Hustle. I remember even editing those photos. I was like editing them like secretly because I don't want my parents. Yeah, because I don't want my parents to see like what I was doing.
Yeah.
My parents are. I grew up a little strict, which is cool. But yeah, my parents are. They're religious or Catholic, so I was really nervous about what they would think if I was going to these places to take photos. But at that time, that was it was my first paying gig, so I was down. I was ready.
Do you remember what camera you were using?
Yeah, I do. At that time, it was a Canon T3i. That was my very first camera I ever. Well, that was actually my mom's camera. Yeah, so that was the camera that she got for what she was going to use it for, was family stuff, So I ended up just using it. My mom had no problem with it. I remember the first lens that I bought, though, was probably everyone's first lens, and it's a 50 mil. Yeah, those two. That honestly, bang for your buck. That's the lens it's nice. That everyone should really get. Honestly, it's such a standard lens.
Nifty 50.
The Nifty 50. Honestly, at that time though, they were made out of like really bad plastic, and they were really loud. That's like the version 2 or 3. I forget, of that 50.
Yeah.
But I had the version 1, and my camera was a crop sensor. I don't know if I'm getting too technical, but that would pretty much make it like an 85 millimeter.
Yeah, those things are tough.
So I was taking photos far at this point. Yeah, I would ask people like, "Can I get a photo of you guys?" And then they would be like, "Yeah," and I'd have to walk across the room to take it. It was interesting, but hey, I mean, the photos came out cool. One of the second lenses that I got shortly after, because I was getting paid for these gigs. I wasn't getting paid much. I was getting paid $30, $50, like the occasional $100.
Yeah.
But I would save it up. I mean, I was a teenager living with my parents, so I didn't really have bills or anything.
Yeah.
It was all going into like, I was saving it all up for gear. I think at this point, I stopped kind of caring about clothes. I was really into it, but I realized that a lot of the shoes and the clothing that I wanted was thousands of dollars. I still can't afford this stuff to this day that I really wanted when I was a teenager. But I mean, it was what I was really interested into growing up. I mean, so I got the immediate next lens that I got was a 24 millimeter, but it was made for the crop sensor. So it was EFS. It was so it was like a True 24. It was one of those lenses that doesn't fit. If you can't mount it onto a full frame, it can only be mounted onto a crop sensor. So yeah, that was cool. I started to use that. I started to use that lens a lot more once I got it. But the 50, I think that's just everyone's first lens. Honestly, first piece of gear. Like at that time, it was $140. I don't know what they are now. Maybe these are like 120.
Yeah, about.
Yeah, see, like you just can't beat that.
Yeah.
And then if you really take care of them, they'll last you a long time. Honestly, if you take care of the gear, they're gonna last you forever. But, yeah.
These things are icons, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've gotten us through everything, dude.
Bro, that 50.
Shout out to the 50.
You know what's crazy? I don't own a 50 anymore.
Nah.
Oh, damn.
No.
Do you own any prime lenses at all anymore?
Oh God, I do.
Yeah.
I love primes.
Yeah.
I own a
They're nice.
24, 35, 85, and 100.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
But no 50.
Yeah. No 50, and that's coincidentally, as we're talking about this, just like 2 days ago, I made the decision that I'm gonna buy a 50. I have some jobs that I need to cover in the next month that I would really like the 50 for. And I've rented it a bunch of times, but yeah, unfortunately, the 50 that I like. So you have like the regular 50, and then you have like the R line, or at this point, Canon's on the R series.
Yeah.
So it's the R line or the L line, and that's like their highest quality 50, whatever. That unfortunately is not $120. It's $2,500.
Yeah, crazy.
So it's an f1.2 though, so that's kind of nice.
Damn.
Yeah, really shallow. I rarely ever use 1.2 though. I mostly stake around 1.8 to 2.
Yeah.
I got unfortunately I got like not shaking hands, but like the motion that I usually cover happens fast.
Yeah.
So that 1.8 to 2 is sometimes a little bit too shallow.
Yeah.
But when I get it,
It's pretty.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, these are 1.8s.
Yeah. And they're great. They're great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They're
great.
light. Come on. They don't take up any space in the bag or in
Dude,
the
chilling.
case. Yeah. You can travel with them. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on it probably like next week.
The big one?
Yeah.
The 1.2?
Yeah. It's because it would help me out in this job a lot that I'm
Yeah.
going to work on.
Dang. So we go from a couple paid jobs to, at this point, now you're able to kind of eyeball what sort of lens you're going to need because of all the experience. What was your experience like when you had to start? How often do you still like rent gear?
Well, at the early on, renting gear was really not as accessible as it is now. Specifically in El Paso, there wasn't very many rental houses or camera loans people. And I've even rented camera stuff from you before.
Yeah, it's one of these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember that? Yeah. At the time, it wasn't very easy to rent things, so I definitely had to make do with what I had. But when my gig started to pay a little bit more, and there was some gear that I wanted to try, I was renting only if I had the budget. But a lot of times I didn't, and I still did it. So I guess that. But yeah, I would say I would rent like 3 or 4 times a year, honestly. Mostly just to see if the gear that I rented, if I should buy it. And a lot of times I would end up buying it. I would rent out later in the gigs within the jobs when they started requiring, something a little bit sharper, faster, more reliable. I would rent out whatever flagship was out at the time. I went from T3i to T7i, and then I went to 5D Mark III, then Mark IV, then 1DX, which is still in use today, and my R5, which is my most recent pickup. Nowadays, I'm not renting as much. I feel like I have all the gear that I really need in order to make the jobs happen. There are some things that we'll rent more on the video side that has a little bit more of a particular thing that it does. We've rented
Maybe like that one.
Literally, I was gonna talk about that.
Oh,
so we rented it out a couple times for specific shots that we needed. One of them was a Razor was a razor commercial that we did it was like a national campaign for this razor company. It was like a startup, and one of the shots that we had in mind was to get the razor shaving hairs. But since that lens, the one that we're talking about, it's the Laowa. Is it Laowa?
I think so. A probe lens.
It is the Laowa probe lens. It's a 24 millimeter f14 that is like this long, and it's really skinny. But it fits into corners and places that a normal lens couldn't. And since it's a macro, it can get really, really close to things with it being in focus. Now, since it's such a specialty lens, it doesn't have autofocus. So it's whatever you have to kind of play with the camera to see the plane of focus, right? So you have to move it forwards and back to just kind of see what that little sliver of focus is like. Requires a ton of light because it's an f14. So pretty much either you're shooting in the day or you're shooting in a studio that's extremely controlled, or you just have a ton of light that you can throw into the scene. But yeah, that we've rented that lens, or whenever we've had to specifically use a cinema camera for the things that are required, maybe a little bit more color depth. We'll rent like something like a Red. Or a Komodo or something in that, or a Venice or something like that. Something that I've never rented though, and I hope to soon, is an Ari. I want to, like, I'm saving like that camera for like a really special project. Hopefully this year or something. We've rented stuff but like now it's a lot less. The gear that we've been able to gets us through our projects. There are some things that we definitely rent here and there, but not as much as we used to, and only on case by case occasions.
Yeah, man, gear talk, baby.
Yeah,
gear talk. I love that shit. What is real quick? What does your gear setup look like in your home and all that? Like in your space, how do you keep it like organized?
Well, I keep everything that I have a ton of gear now.
Yeah.
In my living room, I have a desk, and that desk pretty much houses everything that I need. Mm-hmm. Off to the right of my desk, I have a stand that holds my Pelican. In that Pelican, when it's fully loaded, it's a 1535. It's a 1535 Air, actually. When it's fully loaded, it could hold a 1DX, an R5, and then three of 1DX batteries. They're massive. They're a lot bigger than the LPE6Ns. And then 8 LPE6Ns for my R5, because the R5 takes the smaller batteries, the same batteries as the 5Ds. And then I'll fit the 20 millimeter, the 70-100, the 24-70, the 85, and the 35.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a really heavy case.
Yeah.
It's even it's like a hard case. It's a trunk, but it can it specifically fits above as a carry-on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was really important to me, just because you don't ever want to have your gear in the hands of someone else that really doesn't know what's in it. It's happened to me before too, where my gear got broken because I had to hand it off to someone. It's happened once, and it was recent too. It was traveling with American Airlines, and they have a very, very, very strict 2-bag policy, which is fine. I usually fly with my backpack that has my computer, hard drives, SSDs, any important paperwork, anything, pens, just everything that I need handy, and then my Pelican. That always stays with me. However, if you don't board like groups 1 through 3, they're pretty much gonna make you check in your carry-on. And sure enough, I was like group 5 or 6, and they made me check it in. And I had no problem. I was like, yeah, for sure, take it. I was like, it's not gonna, like, the one time I let someone check it in. Actually, it wasn't the one time. It had happened before, so I was really confident. I was like, yeah, check it in, whatever. Put a thing on it. They even put like a fragile thing because they asked me what's in it. I got it back, and it wasn't. I didn't notice that my gear was broken until I started shooting. Yeah, I didn't even think to check immediately. Who does, honestly? But what ended up happening, what was specifically broke, was my 70-100. And it's already happened twice to that lens. So I think it's like a not a defect of that lens, but that lens is specifically very fragile because that lens is broken twice on me on the same thing. Different lenses too. I've had the 70-200 Mark II, which that broke the same way, and the 70, which is the current one, the Mark III, which is the one that I'm currently using, broke the same exact way. But I don't know. Yeah. What ends up happening is like only the center of the image is like dead sharp. Everything pretty much past, like if you're on a dartboard, like pretty much just that first ring is in focus and everything else is like it's blurry. Yeah, it was tough. It happened with the client straight up as I was shooting, and the client brought it up because when I shoot what I was shooting at the moment was studio stuff, so I tether, so the client can be receiving the images as I'm taking them, and they brought it up like, hey, is it us or is it fuzzy? Like, and I was just like, so what I ended up doing at that moment is I had to switch to all my primes. So I was and the reason why I was shooting 70-200 is because I was getting full body and close-ups at the same time without having to walk in and out of the set. But nah, I was comfy too. Had my Apple box. I had it on a tripod. I was just going, zooming in and out, just moving the camera pretty much. But nah, had to scratch that. Had to use all primes, 85, 35, 24-70. I was at the end of that shoot. It would have been a fairly light shoot. I was like sweating because I was walking. I was just switching back and forth all the cameras. But back to the gear talk. Back to what's in my Pelican or my setup. On top of all that, I have the batteries, wipes, earplugs, really important earplugs, camera triggers, just tools. It's a really, really heavy case, and it's locked up. So only I know the combination to it.
Sick.
But yeah, and then under all that, I just have like a bunch of miscellaneous stuff like camera mics, lens filters, stuff that I use. But whatever's in my Pelican, it's because I use it consistently. That it's never coming out. Depending on projects, I'll only take one camera, or you know what, I don't need to take the 70-200, so I'll take it out. If I can reduce the weight of that box, I will. It's kind of I did it this past weekend, this 2 weekends ago for a job. I was only taking photos one night for around like 5-6 hours, maybe 8 hours. But what I did was I charged all my batteries, and I'm like, I never go through all these batteries in a night. So I didn't take a charger. I didn't take a charger to the job, which was out of town. Oh. Bad. Don't do that. But I was pretty confident that I wasn't gonna need to charge my cameras. It was a 1 dayer, and I didn't need to. But don't do that because you might. Yeah. We might get. Yeah. You were gonna ask me something.
What's the earplugs for?
Yeah. So the earplugs are for whenever we shoot the concerts, pretty much. I like to take care of my ears, specifically because I'm in those environments a lot, really, just with loud music. And it might seem fine, like when you're there, like on stage or something, that like you don't really notice it. You notice it when you go to bed, and your ears are ringing. It won't, if it's like loud enough, it won't let you sleep. Honestly, you'll still hear like the bass, or you'll feel all shaky about it. So I like to take care of my ears. I think the best earplugs are the foam ones. Oh yeah. And those, in my opinion, they do block out a lot. So you need to get really close to people to talk, or they kind of pretty much need to talk in your ear. But I think it's important. I carry earplugs with me everywhere. Even when I even use earplugs sometimes when I sleep. Oftentimes we'll share rooms with Edison or whoever's on the project with me, and in order and he'll stay up or vice versa. I'll stay up editing, and in order to just make sure I get rest, I'll just pop them in, and I won't hear anything. I'll just get my couple hours of sleep, and then I'll wake back up, or vice versa, him too. But yeah, I think earplugs are a very safe thing to keep in your bag at all times, and they're cheap too, reusable. if you really wanted to,
Yeah.
or just disposable. I recommend it.
True.
Earplugs, pro tips. Speaking of Edison, and on a larger note, like on a bigger scale, would you consider LFDC live from the corner to go ahead and be you, Edison, and Chris, like as the formal beginning, or
Well, no, actually, the LFDC had a much different start. I joined LFDC.
oh, okay, so you're not a
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not the founder of LFDC. I'm more of kind of just like the head producer and really in the face of it. Honestly, the founder is Danny Varela, which is another really close friend of mine. I met him during when we were shooting all the garden stuff for J&K.
there
Yeah,
you go.
he was doing all the video stuff at that point, and I was doing all the photo stuff for J&K. And I think Danny is a pioneer at that sort of content, which is like that nightlife with the cool edits and cool cuts and fast turnarounds. He was pretty much the pioneer. And I wanted to work with Danny because he's also an incredible photographer and retoucher. But at the time, photography was so new that when you would, I mean, still honestly to this day, I don't really know what it means, but when you would collab with someone, there wasn't really a way for you to collab. And I still, to this day, I get a little bit thrown off about that word, specifically when it's two photographers wanting to collab. Like, what do you really do? Like, does one half hold the camera and the other half?
True.
Like, yeah, which
Just
one?
have the shutter button.
Yeah. So, really interesting though. One of my favorite photographers is a duo. Yeah, they're out of Atlanta. They take photos of they've like perfected lighting. Their whole thing is like studio photography or like professional just studio stuff. Even outdoors though, a lot of strobe stuff. But yeah, they're a duo. I think their Instagram is ABDM Studios. They're great. You guys should check them out. They've taken some iconic covers. But yeah, back to LFDC. Danny was a founder, and I wanted to get involved in any way I could. This was back in 2015 or 14. And with LFDC was already DS Junior, Crystal Poppin, Mikey Cloud, 3 a.m., all of them. And they were doing their own thing. They were also doing music videos. They were doing photo shoots and everything. Pretty much everything I wanted to do at that time. So I wanted to get involved with them. So Edison and I, we worked some jobs with them here and there. And then we just ended up becoming really close friends. And we decided to take LFDC really serious together. And Edison, myself, and Danny are all partners in LFDC. But yeah, it's grown to become like a nationally recognized brand when it comes to the entertainment like content, from anything from nightlife to commercial. It's been really interesting.
Yeah.
Just some guys just out of El Paso.
For real, man. Are you guys learning as you go when it comes to the business elements? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How much of this are you guys learning through experience, and how much of it are you on your own free time trying to find maybe some, like, I don't know, some channels on YouTube or some books to read? You know what I mean? Like, deliberate learning of it.
I always tell people part of my Michael Jordan story. You know how Michael Jordan didn't get on his high school basketball team or something like that? Yeah. I wasn't. I applied to be in yearbook, and they didn't let me because due to lack of experience. I was a senior applying, and they were more looking for juniors that had started with yearbook. They weren't pretty much they weren't taking any new seniors, and I didn't really care. I was just like, whatever. But it was funny because at the time, some of the photographers for the yearbook, they would ask me for like camera settings and stuff on the side. Not on the side, but like at events and stuff. And I had no problem with doing it because I really like photography that much. But Can you ask me the question again?
How much of it has been
Right. Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
where I was going with this is I never had any proper schooling with photography
Yeah.
or business stuff. I ended up dropping out of college. I graduated high school with an associate's. While I was in college, I was kind of already getting,
The ball
jobs.
rolling, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting the ball rolling. Danny and I were working together a lot, and he was bringing in clients, and I would take all the photos for them, and I was getting my own clients at the time that were small jobs, but they were keeping me busy. So I decided to take a semester off and started really grinding, and then eventually it took off. Now, I personally haven't had any photography schooling or business schooling, so we've been learning on the fly pretty much as we go. I'm a graduate from YouTube University. You can learn anything and everything on YouTube.
Straight up.
You can everything that I've learned has either been through experience, but most likely through YouTube when it comes to technique. Definitely now, still to this day, we're still learning a lot of even like the business lingo, like SOW, scope of work, like all that, EOD, end of day. When all of that stuff is just.
You ever heard of a per diem?
Yeah, I definitely heard of per diem. I love me some per diem. So all of that stuff, we're kind of just learning still on the fly.
Yeah.
Even today, we had a meeting with a client that said some jargon that we had no idea what it means. I mean, what we do at that moment is we research what they're talking about. Then we know what they're, if you truly don't know what they're talking about, don't be afraid to ask them. Just because they're looking to you for like solutions doesn't mean that maybe it's totally okay if you're not caught up to with like the business or even and I've whenever I ask for invoices when I work with other creatives too, fresher creatives, they've never sent an invoice too, and I kind of just walk them through it. It's really easy. I've never been one to shy away from teaching someone business stuff. There's also a ton of tools that people can use to really get their business going. PayPal Business, QuickBooks, all of that stuff.
You rock with QuickBooks?
I use QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I use QuickBooks for all my invoicing and all my tax stuff. But now I do have an accountant, and that kind of just takes care of everything, which is good. But it still runs through QuickBooks, so that way I can see what's going on. But yeah, we're learning everything as we go when it comes to business and creative. We try to learn every time we shoot. We try to do different things. We try to elevate. We try to try fresh ideas. But yeah, I mean, very very minimal actual proper schooling, and just more doing it out in the field and taking it from experience and all that.
Man.
Do you use YouTube Premium?
I do.
Okay.
And then once you got it, you couldn't look back.
Oh, come on.
Couldn't look
No
back.
ads? Are you kidding me? It's good. I have YouTube Premium, and it's when did I get it? I forgot when I got it, but it was I remember for the most part, most of my friends all have YouTube Premium, but every now and then I'll bump into like a friend that doesn't or someone that doesn't. I was like, oh, there's ads. Like, give me the content. I don't know.
Log in real quick.
I feel like social media has made us such like eager for content continuously. So every time there's an ad, I feel like it just throws off like your train of thought, or you even sometimes if there's like 2 ads, you forget what you were gonna watch. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. You're like, oh yeah, we were gonna watch that.
And then now you got the ads in the middle of the videos. I can't.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know that. I had no idea.
It's getting bad.
You're an early adopter.
Yeah.
Early adopter. So earlier we were talking about how, fashion was a big thing that kind of got you into, that was like your first subject.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you said that you eventually kind of started to phase out of it. Maybe if you want to, for lack of a better word, you use it through maturity. Maybe you just had different interests. Your interest matured. What are some? So we'll consider that what you've maybe left behind. You're still into it, of course, and now you even get to like work with it and document it. But what are some things that maybe you've introduced into your life like that? Like it was, I don't know, maybe you start introducing like some morning routines or something like that. I don't know. It's anything, you know?
Well, from a are you asking me from a
Just
personal
like, yeah,
standpoint?
personal interests that you kind of picked up because you wanted to really focus in on your career. And in order to do that, you kind of had to maybe be a more focused you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm as I guess normal when it comes to my personal life as most. I think when I dropped out of school and I started doing this work stuff with photo, it was really easy to just be waking up late because I didn't have to go to school in the morning, or I just had a lot more free time and a lot of more free time to kind of just chill. But it wasn't until I mean, I think I was maybe like 18 or 19 or 20 that I realized that my photography business and LFDC and all that is only going to grow with as much time as I put into it. And in order, if I wanted to optimize how much time to put into it, I had to start waking up in the morning, like waking up early. And then with that came just wanting a better lifestyle. So going to the gym, all that. With going to the gym comes eating clean.
Yeah.
I probably still have the hardest time. I think everyone does
Yeah,
to
the
eating clean.
diet.
That's like, especially in El Paso.
Yeah, it's tough here.
Dude, yeah,
Oh
it
man.
really is, man.
When I go visit my parents, they don't care.
Yeah.
Enchiladas,
Tortillas,
tacos,
tortillas.
yeah,
Yeah.
tortillas, gorditas, all
Spanish rice, never white
yeah,
rice, always
yeah,
Spanish rice.
exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I still like Monday through Friday. I try to keep it clean. But I mean, overall, I think, I guess my morning routine is as easy as normal as it gets. I wake up 7, 8 in the morning when I can. However, when I do feel like my body is tired and I am sleepy, and I have nothing going on, I will sleep in if I could. 9, 10, 11. After once it starts getting to, like creeping around 12, I start wasting. I feel like I get anxious in bed.
Just
But
wake up feeling bad about yourself.
yeah, I just feel guilty. But yeah, I mean, I'll wake up 7, 8. Immediately, I know this is probably not good, but immediately just check my phone for emails. The occasional late night email might come in. I'll usually go to bed like around 11. Ooh. That's actually one of my daily things. I with trying to get the most out of the day, I found that having alarms for different times of the day helps me stay on track.
Yeah.
So I have an alarm for 10 a.m. and then one at noon, one at 3, 6, and then 8. That way I know what time it is at all times. And instead of just saying like, oh, where did my day go? I know exactly what time it is
Dang,
yeah.
bro, true. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I got like pings all day with like
Yeah.
a specific task that I should have done by then.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, 8 p.m., what my mind thinks of is like, I should probably go get some dinner or like start unwinding
Yeah.
like soonish, like around 10. I used to have a 10 p.m. one, but then it's too much noise at 10 p.m. So I just deleted it.
Yeah.
But yeah, with along all that came with those alarms, and my friends hate it because they know now, like, oh, it's 3, like, oh, it's 6. But see, like, it keeps everyone on track.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Don't
it
you
keeps
wanna
everyone
know?
mentally like
Structured.
okay, like, oh, it's 6, like our day's pretty much over. Like, what do we need to get done?
Right.
Or 6, like it's probably a time to go to the gym. Just mentally, it doesn't matter where you're at as long as you know where you're going.
I feel like naturally we were used to that back when we were like hunter and gatherers because the sun was.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So you always kind of knew what time and how much sunlight you have in the day.
One of the things that always messes me up, and I think it messes everyone up, is the daylight savings time.
Yeah.
When we fall back, that one really is really awful. Seasonal depression is like a real thing. I mean, people go through it a lot. I feel like I get like minor, but just more due to like getting depressed because the day's over. I'm like, like it's 4 p.m. and it's
Dark already.
Yeah, like I haven't done half of my day and it's nighttime.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I do. I go to the gym. These days, the hot, like I guess a hot topic. I don't take as many photos as I used to. I'm more. I would say 60 to 60% of my work is now done just on my laptop, looking at contracts, writing contracts, doing Excel spreadsheets.
The work just became like higher valued work, right?
Yeah,
So you got to do less of it.
yeah, I guess it came with once you start getting into the larger markets and the larger clients and larger brands, there comes a lot of office work that does come with being a photographer. I wish my job was like the job was just easy as just to show up and take the photo, but unfortunately, it just isn't. The larger these clients go, the more people are involved. There's a creative director, and there's a producer, and there's a director.
More people to talk to.
More people to talk to, and so it's you have what it usually happens is the reason why there's like so much friction is because they want to make sure that their ideas get made through you and using your eye. Now it sounds easy, but if someone asks like, I want you to take a photo of this plant, you could do it a bunch of ways. But if the client is the plant or like the pot, then or the pot maker and not the plant, you want to shoot the pot in the best way possible and not just the leaves.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things to go through. There's a lot of friction, and I think we started noticing that in 2019 once we started getting a little bit busier out of town, and even in town. You meet with agencies, you meet with the creative director or the client, and they have a deck that they want you to look at something. But yeah, nowadays, a lot of my day in and day out is just being on my computer all day in meetings on Zoom, Google Teams, all that, phone calls, and pretty much just going, like setting up, like getting ready for the next job. Yeah. And whereas booked out as late as July, August already, for certain things. So fortunately we have the time to think about certain things, or we can catch up on things that might need to happen for that specific job.
True, huh? People aren't really hitting you up for some shit that's like, hey, yo, you think tomorrow you can?
And not very rarely now. Yeah, very rarely. I save those small moments for my close friends. Mm-hmm. Even for J&K, I whenever I'm in town and they need something, I'll try to help them as much as I can. And even for my really good friend Alex, he's a content creator. Yeah. Lexon. Whenever we need to do something really quick, mm-hmm. I mean, I have free time, I'm down. But yeah, very rarely now do I get bookings that are a couple days out or weeks out. I try to book within 2 weeks, mm-hmm. And that's really soon for me. Mm-hmm. Just because I have a lot of other things going on with other clients that are keep me busy. So 2 weeks is usually like my cutoff. I've taken gigs out of town that are really intense with days of notice. So I mean, it has happened before where someone's booked me really last minute and I got to go and it lines up with my schedule. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like my job is a lot less taking photos and more being like a corporate-y job. Yeah. Even though I feel like I have a pretty lax, job, it still is demanding, lightly though. Yeah. I don't want to make it seem like I have a hard job. Yeah. I it's interesting, but I'm not like doing labor, so it's different.
You can still say demanding. Still, I think a pretty accurate word.
It's like mentally demanding.
I feel you.
I feel like what gets tiring is like the communication. Not a lot of people realize that talking to people is tiring, especially when you're talking, like when you're sharing ideas and thoughts and it's like a back and forth. By the end of the day, you kind of just don't want to really talk to many people, or you're unwinding, like kind of just quiet, or in between calls, you have like chill music in the background, mm-hmm. It's kind of keep you going. But there are some times where calls get you excited and you're amped up and you want to work. So I mean, it's just depending on the vibe. But yeah, I mean, demanding is in an interesting way. It's more of like
Draining for sure.
draining. Yeah, yeah, it's more draining than it is demanding. It's draining. That's what it is.
To balance out with, you know, that sort of intensity whenever you're traveling, how much do you try to like soak up wherever you're going, you know? How much time do you even have to like allocate towards, yo, I'm gonna see what's up over here while I'm
Honestly,
here?
honestly, sorry, it's because I feel like I keep getting further. Uh, Usually, not much time. However, when you can pick your flights, sometimes clients will give you the option to pick a flight back. Sometimes they just pick it for you, which is fine too.
Yeah.
And you can wiggle around, you know, like maybe like a late flight out or maybe an early flight in to your job. Maybe you're there a day before, or just maybe your job is at night and you can fly it in the morning. I do try to soak in like the environment that I'm in a lot. I would say 50-50, honestly.
Oh, that's
yeah,
pretty good, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I 50-50. There's some last year.
You do have an easy job. Nah, just kidding.
It's pretty much just travel and
That's
take
cool,
photos.
man.
And
That's cool.
yeah,
I bet you got jet lag like crazy a lot, huh? Have you
well-
ever really experienced true jet lag, or is it a myth?
No, so one of the things I haven't gone what do people call across the pond. I haven't like gone overseas yet. I feel like I'm gonna do that soon. I don't know why, but I just feel it.
Yeah.
But there was one flight that got Ed and I kind of messed up with our sleeping schedule.
Yeah.
A flight in particular, though, it was an LAX flight to Fort Lauderdale. So pretty much,
Where's that
in Florida.
Oh.
Yeah, so pretty much LA to like the
Coast to coast.
coast of Florida.
Oh, shit.
That was a 5.5 hour flight. However, since you're going west to east, you lose 4 hours in the air.
All the time zones.
Yeah, you cross 4 time zones. So you lose. Is it 3 or 4 hours? I forgot. It's 4 hours. You lose.
1, 2, 3.
Or you lose 3 hours. You lose 3 hours. So we were in the air technically for only 5 hours, whatever.
But according to
But according to your
European
time,
societal standards,
Yeah, you're pretty much in an airport for 8. You like get there and it's so the flight was a midnight flight. We didn't get off the plane until 8:30 in the morning.
that's crazy.
So we had to sleep because the reason we were going to Fort Lauderdale is because we needed to be on a job. And one of the things that we did a lot last year was go from job to job out of town. So not only were we packing for this one job, but we also had to think about the next job in another city. So we had to pack enough clothes and enough gear and make sure that we take the right gear for the next job or with that first job. You know, we ended up just traveling a lot with a lot of suitcases, a lot of cases, camera cases and whatnot. But specifically, we were in a job in LA. Then we had to go to West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach has a very small airport that doesn't get a lot of flights in. Our job in LA was on Friday. The West Palm Beach job was on Saturday. So our call time for that Friday job in LA was 9 a.m. We flew into LA that day, landed at 8 in the morning, went straight to the studio, took photos till about 2-3 p.m. Kind of went back to the hotel. The client fortunately got us a hotel to kind of just unwind. Shout out to them. And shower up and whatnot. Got dinner. Then went back to the airport. Then tried to sleep overnight on that flight to Fort Lauderdale. Then we rented a car to go to West Palm Beach, which is about an hour and a half away. We had a flight to Fort Lauderdale for 2 reasons. The incoming flights to West Palm Beach specifically weren't going to get us to the job in time. And 2, we needed a rental car. For all the gear, and we needed for the location of the job. So we went into West Palm Beach, rented the car, and drove to. I'm sorry, we went into Fort Lauderdale, rented the car, drove to West Palm Beach. Spoiler alert: Edison and I couldn't sleep on the flight. We got maybe like an hour or two. Yeah, and a dog sat well, not a dog sat next to me, but a person with a pretty large dog. Like, it was a service dog, but it was a couple, and the dog pretty much just laid on both of their laps the whole flight. So I just had this like dog that was like kind of just pretty much his like nose was like sitting was like on my lap, and he was like moving around a lot. So we didn't really sleep much, but yeah. Then we got to West Palm Beach like at noon. Our job wasn't until 5 p.m. So we crashed hard at noon, and we woke up at 3 p.m. to start getting ready for the job.
Ooh, that's a dangerous nap.
It is.
That's
It
a
is.
dangerous nap.
Yeah, that is a dangerous nap for sure. We had another team member meet us in Florida that was pretty fresh for all this stuff. So he kind of just kept an eye out.
He was traveling to there alongside you guys, or
he had come from El Paso. He went from El Paso to West Palm Beach directly because there was an El Paso flight. He had the time to he didn't have to go to the LA job.
Okay.
So he met us in Florida.
Man, that's crazy organization, dude.
Yeah, our travel and like logistics organization is it's pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, I know everyone's TSA pre-check number. I have it saved. I have everyone's whoever travels with us, the date of birth, emails that their confirmation. It's all pretty smooth operating machine once you get it down. But yeah, it's.
Does this come from being stalled up by those things though? Like in your experience, like did you have problems with that stuff? And you're like, nah, I'm not gonna have that again.
No, I would say I'm a pretty organized person.
Okay.
In general, so it was anything that has to do with and. I said a lot of my job is computer stuff now.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's really cool. Like putting together a shoot on your computer before you shoot is really interesting. There's a lot of parts that are a lot of fun to me. That like getting the gear list, getting the crew, seeing like when we have to shoot, how fast we have to get that edit done, and then like comes all the fun part of actually thinking of the ideas of the content, and just knowing how to get it done. But all that includes the travel stuff, the travel and lodging, the food. If we have budget, we'll go eat somewhere. It goes back to your question of do we get to enjoy the cities that we're in? I mean, whenever we're with the crew, we'll try something local, to just get a taste of whatever the city we're in. But a lot of times too, what also happens is the client has catering. So, I mean, we're not going to say no to free food, especially when it's on set. So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's like half and half. But yeah, we did become pretty good travelers. We have like specifically the El Paso airport, like dialed into the 10 minutes of like how long we have to get there, how early we need to get there for certain flights. There was almost one time I almost missed a flight, and it was a train wreck. I got to the airport. It was an American. It was an American flight.
Man, American keeps giving you problems, bro.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but every other airline, it's 30 minutes before your flight takes off that they pretty much stop you. You can't even go through TSA anymore. American Airlines is 45 minutes. And I didn't know that. So I was going off of that 30-minute like rule. I got to the airport maybe with 50 minutes. I'm like, I'm good. Like I got 50 minutes to get up into that plane. I'm solid. And sure enough, as I'm walking in, I hear last call on my flight. What ended up happening was they boarded the flight early. The flight was half empty, so they didn't need to board a ton of people. I was the last one on the flight, and the clerk, he was being a jerk. He was probably having a bad day. So yeah, and he and as soon as I walked up into like to get help, I was like, hey, like, can I check this? They're calling my name for some reason. Our flight doesn't leave for another whatever. And right before that, he was helping someone that got us to the 45-minute mark. He was helping someone out. And as soon as he's like, where are you going? And I was like, LAX. He's like, oh, you missed your flight. And I was just like, what? What do you mean? And then they're like, yeah, you missed your flight. Like, the computer isn't going to let me put you in anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? There's still like 45 minutes. He's like, yeah, Americans cut off his 45 minutes. and he was just being a jerk, but it was all right. What ended up happening was the reason why he wasn't gonna let me onto the plane is because I needed to check a bag, and the computer doesn't let you check a bag anymore after 45 minutes. So what ended up happening, what I ended up doing is calling my parents to come pick up really quickly my luggage, so I can make this flight, and they ended up mailing it out to the location, which was really expensive.
Yeah, dude, I bet.
Which is really, yeah. So for that shoot, I was like clothesless and for like a day. I was just in the clothes that I was in for the airport.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, we're pretty detail oriented when it comes to like the logistics of things.
That's a pretty solid experience, honestly, to cause you to dial in on that, despite already being organized. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say like the way I contribute the most to LFDC and our company is by being extremely detail oriented.
Providing that structure.
Yeah, all the whole team is insanely creative. And I myself I do consider myself a creative, but I I like to just really dial in on like pretty much everything that they shouldn't have to worry about. Specifically like Edison or Danny. Like I don't want them to worry about what time we're getting the flights, booking the hotels, getting the rental cars. I want them to solely be thinking about the creative and them not even having to think about how to get there or what's going to happen when they get there or what's going to happen with me when I get there. You know, I want to get that thing done as early as possible so that there's zero time wasted on or zero time and energy wasted on creative. So
When it does become creative time though, what role are you playing there? Is it more director? You just like a little bit of camera operate, like you know what I'm saying?
Well, depending on the project, for the most most of the time, I'll throw in like I'll throw in some creative thoughts. I'll let Edison kind of just go or Danny just go, but I act more of like an ear to the client. I'll really make sure that I know what the client wants, and I'll really make sure Edison knows what the client wants, and then we'll think of some ideas together, and hopefully we think of something with whatever we have to create with the client's goal in mind. Now, if I feel that the client isn't getting the content that we're thinking of or trying to create isn't going to hit the marks that the client is looking for and that they're paying us to hit, then I will definitely say something. For the most part, I would say like 60% of the time I'm doing that. And the other 40% I'm putting in creative thought and creative input. But when it comes to like the videos and all that, I'll let Edison and Danny go, or Angel go, I'll send all them. They have a pretty unique way of editing and, shooting things. I used to want to always like micromanage everything, which is something that I learned is not the way to do stuff. Because I feel like every detail-oriented person wants something done a certain way. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work for us creators, even as me. It just, you got to let sometimes them just kind of just go. And once you find the people you trust, specifically, like I'm talking about the LFDC guys, once you find the people that you trust, that you work with consistently, that you're really close friends, that you know that the product is going to be good, then that's when you can really get the ball moving. When you're kind of like, when your mindset isn't really, there together, that's when the content we're going to start lacking. But that's what that's what we have. We're basically just sharing like one mind that thinks of the same things, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. So if anyone wants to, I guess like create like a team, like how we have, or a company like us, I would just really focus on like trying to get someone that you have really good synergy with, that you have really just, there's not much, like too much back and forth, that you guys are vibing immediately. And it's okay to vibe later. Like you don't have to instantly click with whoever you want to work with. a lot of times too, what happens is when I'll meet a creative director, or producer, whatever, it's always you're meeting someone brand new that you've been talking to on a computer the whole time, and when you see them in person, it's important. One of the things is that's part of the job is kind of just vibing well with that person and hopefully creating something together with their direction and your skills and techniques and your and your creative ideas. Hopefully together you guys can make something great, and that's what I think us and the guys all of LFDC have done really well. Whenever we shoot projects, I mostly stick to all the photography stuff. That's because we have the video honed in and dialed in way before we even start shooting, and we have the green light on the ideas of the. So that's what happens. That's why the larger clients it takes so much friction. It takes so much work before they even shooting, because they also want to make sure you're going into this project with the exactly knowing what to do. So yeah, when it comes to when we're kind of just brainstorming stuff, I'll definitely have creative stuff but if it's like a video heavy project, then Edison will kind of just take the lead, and then I'll act more of the ear to the client. If it's something that my client is looking for and it's video, then I'll present it to hey, or our client, hey, this is what needs to happen. How can we make it the best, dopest way we can with the time given and the money given and all that. But yeah,
with a lot of cooperation between the team, I mean, I don't know if maybe you guys haven't even hit those roads yet, but there's got to be some friction between LFDC. What happens when creative differences or business differences, professional differences occur? How do you guys kind of get through those muds?
What's interesting about us specifically is that we're friends first, then we are, I guess,
business partner, co-workers.
Co-workers, business partners. So whenever there's a disagreement, it's hard to not think that it feels personal, but it's not personal. It took us a long time to realize that whenever we're critiquing each other's work, we're not going after Danny, my close friend, or Edison, my close friend. It's more because you believe that they can create something better than what we're creating, or it happens to me all the time too. Maybe the photos didn't pop off as that they thought they weren't going to. So what I'm gonna do is not take it personal, and go rework the photos or go find something better in my selects. When it happens, it's really minimal. It's just but that even goes back to just being guys. I feel like us as guys, when we're mad at someone and it's a homie, maybe you're mad for 5 minutes, maybe, and maybe it's just a really small disagreement about something. We rarely have any friction though.
You think more of your friction lies between client work at this point? Not to say friction's a bad thing, but more just back and forth.
Yeah, I think all of us are pretty much on the same page. Uniquely, I don't think I'll find a group of guys like my friends anytime soon, and even people that are straight outside of photography.
Yeah,
like the J&K guys and all them. Anyone that's really been close to me. I don't know. I just felt like I found the most unique group of friends that everyone kind of just supports each other, and if something's not up to par, they will gladly tell you it's it's not as it's kind of cool, but it's not the coolest thing. So then that's when you go internally, or when you go back, and you know what, that they know that I can make something better, so I'm gonna try, looking at it with fresh eyes. A lot of times what happens too is you work on a project so consistently and solely that's all you're feeding your brain. So anything looks bad or whatever. It's always good to just look at it with fresh eyes, sleep on it or whatever, or take a break, work on something else. And yeah, pretty much, there's very little friction between us ever. Yeah, I would say. But when there is, no pasa nada.
Yeah. With LFDC in mind, a lot of that kind of happened, and a lot of your work early on started with, some homies by your side. hypothetically speaking, and this is just so that maybe we can get into a quick space or a brief space or a long ass space, who knows, but a space where we can maybe talk to photographers who don't maybe go the route of having a team behind them. Do you think hypothetically your journey would be very similar in terms of like the choices you make if you were just kind of going at this on a solo route? Or what do you or if not, what do you think would be different, like drastically?
I think that if I didn't have a team, let me think about that. I think that I would have if I would didn't have like my close friends or my team um, behind me, I think my client my type of work would change, but I would still eventually probably get to the caliber that we're shooting for. Just it would be a pretty lonely. It would be honestly, it would be a pretty lonely road. There's jobs that I take that I've taken still through LFDC that all they're requesting is just a photographer, and I just happen to be open and I'm available to shoot it and I can shoot it and I want to shoot it. Those trips are lonely for sure.
You feel it?
Yeah, it's a pretty quiet life, and honestly, I've grown to like it. Now I'm a little bit older, but when I was younger, like all the clubs that I was shooting, all the concerts, I've seen some of my favorite artists of all time perform because I've had to work those jobs. They've all been spent with the team. Now, can one achieve I guess something similar? Oh, absolutely. Some of the people that I've worked with on projects that isn't us are freelancers, and a lot of people that I bump into. It's actually, as a matter of fact, it's very rare to work as a team. To be honest, as a media production team, not a lot of people have that I guess that luxury of starting together and growing together. For the most part, most of the people just work with already existing photographers that already have their own company or that already have their own brand, that you kind of just work together because you need
Some help and shit, you know what I'm saying?
pretty much. Um, yeah, I truly believe that if any freelancer, if they really hone in on their craft, I think they can be at the largest level of photography at the grandest scale. Um, but yeah, I mean, would it have been different? Probably. I don't know how, but I know it might have been. My friends mean a lot to me,
Yeah.
and um, my workmates that are my friends,
Yeah.
they mean a lot to me, and I take inspiration from them. To be honest, we all are extremely unique in our own ways. We all like different things. So with that, it allows us to be, I guess, cultured in almost every sense of the way, with music, with artists, with clothing, with pretty much just being on uh, having like our finger to the cultural like beat.
Yeah.
It helps having friends and or having friends that have the same goal as you. But yeah, I definitely do think it would have been a different pathway. But how I'm not sure.
I think you hit it earlier when you said that your line of work would change. You probably wouldn't be doing like big media productions, probably not as much video too, huh?
Probably not as much video
Yeah, like you
stuff.
probably would have dabbled, but
Yeah, I would have definitely been uh, a lot more stills
yeah.
than I am involved in the video world. And let the history know, let the history show. Um, I don't know how to edit video, so all the video editing magic.
He's Nick Cannon.
Uh,
He's Nick Cannon in Drumline.
oh, yeah, exactly. I can. We shoot. I've shot video. I do video. I do most of these photos when it comes to our really large shoots because I know that I'm the best one in our team to get the job done, or the hands are required. I know that I'm gonna get the job done. But when it comes to video, these guys are wizards. I I just help with the creative direction, with all the logistical, delivering to client, talking to the client during the shoot. I kind of just technically just a producer job. Which is what we've been talking about. It's called, that job specifically, it's called either executive producer or producer. And I've found a lot of joy, honestly, in that, in like the mundane of doing all the pretty much all the, some people simply call BS before the shoot.
The dishes.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll fuck up some Excel sheets.
Yeah, dude,
I'll
yeah.
fuck up some Word documents and some Zoom calls. But yeah,
Google Sheets, bro.
yeah. I don't think I would have definitely been as involved in video, and I love video. Video's so sick. Oh, video's so sick.
Yeah, man, that's a puzzle I don't really just feel like solving sometimes though.
Yeah, bro. You could use.
I describe it like this: like I can see a gallery of a fuckload of photos, and then see how it's gonna sum down to like a selected gallery.
Yeah.
I can see how different design assets are gonna turn into a flyer. I can't really see how hours of footage is gonna turn into like a 1 minute, sometimes less video.
for
you
sure.
know, I think that's why we always gravitate towards long form content because
It-
it's
it's-
just like a lot easier to flesh out. You know?
It's crazy because we probably look nuts out in the field. We just getting weird
Dude,
angles and
like
just like
walking
getting
by.
low
So
and
you guys
getting
are bright
high.
side, just like running
Yeah,
through.
we're just working. It's just like, what are these guys doing? Pointing a camera at a wall or whatever.
Yeah,
I
they're getting their transitions.
Yeah, you're getting the transitions. You're getting the mask cuts. You're getting all of those little things that you have that we plan ahead of time. And it's pretty cool seeing like all the things that we make come into one timeline. That's what's really rewarding.
Man, when you guys run through a festival, then, just specifically, are you guys running through like a shared like shot list that's like on a team note or something like
Pretty
that?
much, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever we're shooting for, whatever client, whatever festival, they're gonna give you a
Oh, they even give you
Yeah, they're gonna give you a deliverables list. A lot of some of the times, it won't be like worded well, or sometimes that'll happen. And what we like to do is pretty much dissect the heck out of whatever deck they send us, whatever paperwork they send us, and just really thoroughly look through it and read everything, read it 3 or 4 times, pass it to a bunch of people within amongst each other that's working on the project, and really just take out all the fat and leave it just what is actually required. Whether the deliverables are 2 30-second videos, one due within 12 hours of wrap, and then one due 7 days post wrap, or the photos, you need 30 edited stills, 10 of them must be edited on site and 20 to be delivered 12 hours after. Getting all that information, putting it on a document, on an Excel, on a Notes. Honestly, Notes is like the goated app. Like, I love using Notes on my iPad, on my computer, on my phone. That's where pretty much like a lot of the ideas get fleshed out, because you can like proxy share a note, and people can work on it at the same time, the same way you can with a Word document. We've done it with Word documents too. But Notes is just like, if you have a quick idea, you can just pull out your phone and just type on it, and everyone's gonna receive those same updates instantaneously. And it's even gonna notify them when you work on that when you work on the note or the document,
true.
whatever.
True.
Yeah, so pretty much what we'll do is we'll dissect everything, get all the ideas that they want. Like, for example, this is just pure example. Going back to this, we want to show the like how really, I guess, how orange this pot is, and we also want to look at how deep it is and what it can hold, and the sizing compared to whatever else they have. So with that, we'll have the like, okay, we need to get a shot of like the inside of it, and then the side shot, and then another shot with it next to a smaller one, and then one next to a bigger one. Just like all those little things are going to be on a list, and it'll be separated from photos to videos. A lot of times these days, I'm not the only stills photographer on these jobs. Sometimes I'll have another photographer with me also knocking out that list simultaneously at the event. Now, whether the event is huge or tiny, we'll split up and just cover as much. Like, coverage is the name of the game when it comes to these events. That's what they're hiring for. It's just coverage. They want you to get every moment and every angle, every option that they have of the event. Like, whether they want a lot of times they'll want the same thing shot with different people in it. Let's say it's a concession stand or just some sort of vendor at an event. they want several people because you want the client wants options on what to use for advertising later or for their socials. They want to, you don't want to give them just one option. So we'll have X amount of photos of this thing from this angle. We'll even get down. We've gone like pretty broad on notes before, and we've even gone like mid of this, tight of that, wide of this, and then in 60 frames, in 24 frames, in 30, like just like even down to the camera, or with Insta360 or with FX6 or with Komodo or with stills. Like there'll be certain things that it's just reading. We're so used to reading it though. It looks like a bunch of jargon and numbers.
Yeah.
But
you guys know how to read that.
But we know how to read it pretty well. I mean, it's kind of like just like a language that we kind of just made up on our own.
What's the language that Lord of the Rings created?
Elvish.
Is that what it is? Elvish?
Elvish.
Something like
Elvish.
that.
It's
Yeah.
LFDC-ish.
Yeah, it's just like pretty much. Yeah, it's just a bunch of numbers and short abbreviated things but we know exactly what they means. But yeah, we're big fans of the Notes app. Big fans of Notes app. Huge fans of anything of the Google Workspace.
Yeah, you fuck with MKBHD? I feel like he'd be a big inspiration for you, man. I feel
How did you know? That's crazy.
Just seems like it. The way you guys operate as a team feels like that's probably what they do as well. You know.
You know what's really interesting?
They do more in-house projects, obviously, but they're probably still creating shot lists and
yeah,
they have so much gear to play with, so they're probably utilizing it all.
I don't want to like, I guess, pat ourselves on the back, but one of the things that we noticed this past year was the first year that we had to start hiring outside of us because the jobs were getting bigger, like more coverage more ground to cover. The edits were getting the turnarounds were getting faster. Still trying to maintain the really high quality content. So it was the first year that we started hiring out of our immediate circle, pretty much. And one of the things that kept getting brought up to us specifically, and we think we're a mess. We think we're messy. We think we're like not I guess what's the word? Like not organized. Mm-hmm. But we'll have these contractors come in these contractors end up becoming our really close friends too, which is really cool. I love working with. We just recently worked with one of our close friend. His name is Connor. He's from Montreal, Canada. He's such a good guy. He's really cool. But one of the things that he immediately brought up is how organized we were with all the details. Mm-hmm. You would just expect it to be like that, but when you really started getting into like the mud of like this content creation, media stuff, you're gonna realize that a lot of the BS that you deal with small clients, like them not being ready for the shoot, or just for example, like if you're shooting a restaurant or whatever, or food, like they might not know what the dishes are until like the day before, and you want to plan for that stuff really early. Mm-hmm. So we try to be as organized on our side as much as possible, so that way all the mystery is just kind of like left up to the client, and we're pretty good about talking with clients. But a lot of contractors, when we hire people, they tell us like we give them a schedule, we give them what their day looks like. Even on the off day, like we give them kind of things that needs to get done, like at 3 p.m. When I need you to dump all the content that you shot from the night before or whatever, or by 3 p.m. you should be this far along your edit, and then we'll check in or whatever. But yeah, I mean, with that, like I guess we're really organized. What was the initial question?
I don't know. I get so lost in the conversation myself, dude. Yeah. It's awesome.
MKB.
Oh yeah,
MKB.
Yeah.
Dude,
so you brought it up because you said that like we're like detail oriented, I guess.
Yeah, and then you guys are doing like full scope work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
for
big
sure.
Productions.
It's funny that you bring up MKBHD because that's one of my favorite YouTube creators. I remember I started watching his videos like way back when he just had just like a small office to himself, and he had like just one other person helping him. Mm-hmm. And then it's pretty cool to see that guy's like company just grow. Another random YouTube creator that I really like, that I kind of stopped watching a lot, but earlier I used to watch was Linus Tech Tips.
Oh yeah. Dude.
That guy is like it.
He introduced me to big hard drive, like beige.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
That, stuff.
That guy is like as one of the things when I first got into photography, I was really in love with like the technical stuff too. Like why those settings work. Like why did those specific settings work best in this scenario? But I also got into like a lot of tech stuff. I always like wanted to know what the newest camera did or what the best computer can do. Like imagine if we can make content like with the stuff we have, and what if we had the better computers, or what if we had the better camera? Anyways,
Oh man, shout out to your laptop. I know it's in surgery right now.
Yeah,
The operating room.
yeah, I completely shattered the screen, and it was still working. The bottom right was pretty much all dead pixel, and it had like lines going up above it. So pretty much half of my computer was all like glitchy lines. What ended up happening was I was tethering for a client, and when I tether, in this specific moment, we had to be really mobile. And for those who don't know, tethering means you just connect your computer to your laptop and it feeds the images into your laptop, and you'll have a monitor for your client. And that way your client can just see everything that's coming in, making sure that it's what they wanted. It's just for visibility, but it's a whole movie that if you want to tether, that's when you can start charging more and all that. But, pretty much I have it on a stand on wheels. And since it's a laptop, I don't need like to be connected to power, but if power is an option, then I'll be charging wherever I can. What ended up happening was that day we were moving so fast, the productions, that we kind of, the production was running late. So we were killing, a lot of content just back and forth. When it was time for the video, I would just shut the laptop and kind of just shove it into the corner. But the laptop base the stand has a base that you pretty much tie the laptop to the stand, to the base, so it doesn't slip off when you're like trying to type on it, because it's a pretty slick base. It's like a cheese board, a giant cheese board that you put on cameras. It's one of those, but for a laptop. It has a strap. You can't really close it because the buckle of the strap is facing up on top of the keyboard. So when it fell, the whole enclosure closed on itself, and it pretty much closed on the buckle. And you can see right where the buckle was that it hit the screen. It completely broke it. But yeah, it was a super easy fix. I hadn't had this happened like early December. So I pretty much all of December, I was working on like a broken screen laptop. I was like only using like 10 inches of the 16-inch laptop. But yeah,
MacBook Pro,
MacBook Pro,
M2,
M1 Max though.
Okay.
Yeah, I was playing around with the idea of upgrading to the M3, but they said they couldn't give me any options until the computer was fixed. So
True.
yeah, so they had to fix it first. But yeah,
Big tech.
I got really into tech just like randomly.
I wouldn't say randomly.
Like yeah, I guess it comes with the job.
Yeah.
Into like consumer tech. So I started watching a lot of Linus Tech Tips because he is literally just like
Dude, yeah.
just gets all the tech. And then his company started really growing, and then I kind of just like lost touch with the creator because oftentimes it wasn't. Now it's not him anymore on camera. It's like his employees.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because that recently started happening to me, and it's tough. It's tough when it starts happening. Specifically, what I'm talking about is when someone hires you. Or when in our case, when someone hires LFDC and they want to choose the creator because they know that creator on the team can get the job done. And sometimes it just isn't possible due to scheduling, due to us being too booked, that person being too busy or too much on their plate, or they're out of just a lot of things. That started happening this past. Like that happened to us a couple times this past year, where the client wanted to hire me specifically, and it's tough. It's tough. You have to let the client know they're not. Potentially, it might not be Edison filming the video, or myself taking the photos, but you want to make sure you get someone that can do the job just as good as you, if not better. than you. And it's one of those things about growing. I feel like oftentimes people, for some reason in El Paso, specifically in El Paso, I guess like the media space is seen as like a competition for some reason. Like everyone wants like the big client. Everyone wants as many clients as possible, and for their reach to be really massive. But we just kind of like had to grow up, and specifically us. I'm saying there's other people that still have the mentality, but specifically us, like there are people that can do our jobs better than us. Why are we gonna try to make better content than them? Why not just hire them? Or if the budget allows for that, like actually collab with that content creator. So remember how I was saying earlier, like this year was like the first day we had to hire people out. When we started hiring people outside of us, we were gonna try to hire people that we looked up to content creator wise. We reached out to the people that we thought their work had always been dope. Their editors that like we know are super dope. And when these budgets started coming in finally for like the larger projects, we had that access to the next creator, what's going to bring us to the next level. And it has. So when a client is trying to hire you specifically, and you can't, I really strongly recommend you telling them, like, unfortunately, I personally will not be available. So-and-so is going to be the one covering this specific thing. This is their content. This is their portfolio. We worked with them a bunch of times. There's nothing to worry about. And honestly, it hasn't happened to us where a client's been unsatisfied with the content. But yeah, that's one of the things.
Gotta be careful, man. You can't turn into Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah. That was really interesting. I wasn't doing every project that we got hired for. I wasn't. That was like this past 2 years that was new. Like I started picking up the camera a lot less. I was doing more of the back end work, and just letting like the creators create. And even Edison and Danny, we've kind of like transitioning into like more of a hybrid, like kind of, we're trying to grow the brand of the business, but also trying to be content creators in our own respective fields. So yeah.
Dang, man. Heaters, bro. Heaters. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I'm learning a lot about the structure of team because David and I think, are a lot still like in our, like, we haven't really had to need like to grow the team or anything like that. Yeah. We've been able to really keep it like tight knit. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the things that you're talking about when it comes to the dynamic of a team and the benefits of having that tight knit team, mm-hmm. I think we really see that. And I think, we're really owning in on that value, especially this last year has been crazy. But another thing that I feel like the three of us can relate on is Valley Boys, Lower Valley Boys.
Yeah, we're all from the Lower Valley. You're from the Lower Valley too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably the least from the Lower Valley out of all of it.
You don't have to say exactly where, but I know exactly where from he's from, because it was crazy when we found out where around do you live?
I'm like 2 blocks from Riverside High School.
Going
between Riverside and Thomas Manor.
West? Like towards Shaver? Down.
Yeah, like I'm driving towards, so like on nights, go all the way down nights.
Oh, okay, yeah. So him and I, we found out that we grew up a street away from each other.
Yeah, G.
I remember the reason I found out is because I wanted to rent one of your 5Ds for a shoot, a shoot that required like a really high megapixel count. And at the time, a 5D Mark IV had the most. So I rented that. And then you sent me the address to pick it up. And I was like, at the time I was still living with my parents when I was a lot younger. And I was like, I could walk there. I was like, no way. Yeah, that was a long time. Yeah, we are all Valley boys. I grew up in the Lower Valley. That's where I was born. Like I grew up there, so I know everything about the Lower Valley. Now I live in downtown, but I still at heart.
Family Thrift Center.
Yeah, Family Thrift Center.
Little that was Caesars.
Yeah, the subway. The subway.
Subway too.
Yeah, that subway is still open. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That subway is like crushing still. Since I was a kid.
It's a good spot. Yeah. R.I.P. to the Whataburger though. That one used
the one that was right there on Delta.
It's Watercard now.
Yeah, it is what a car. Yeah, they made that. And yeah, how random. Into a yellow. They made that pyramid. And it was when the Whataburgers still used to have the pyramid structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tent.
Classic.
Yeah, the tents that we'd use for the tables.
Oh,
It was like a
yeah.
giant tent.
Yeah, that was an OG water.
Yeah,
That's why they call it water cart, because they're like,
Yeah. How are you gonna get rid of that iconic
this
building?
building's too unique, man.
Yeah.
Arby's sign, like clearly
The
that's
Arby's
Arby's.
sign? They're just like, that'd be crazy, bro.
Yeah, I try to visit my parents as much as I can when I'm in town, and it felt like I never left. I mean, honestly, the Lower Valley will always be the Lower Valley. I love it. The Bronco and like the swap meet also there in front of Escarate.
Were you still there when the trail finally got done? You could rent it.
Yeah, that was towards
I think
like
I told you about it a couple times. Like, yo, let's race. I
Yeah.
kept telling David, I was like, yo, I'm trying to race him, bro. I'm trying-
yeah. For those, I guess I had like a really big running phase. I'm trying to get it back.
Yeah, the alpha flies and everything.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I had like I was running.
Sneakerhead.
I was running a lot. It was specifically during COVID too that I was running 25 to 30 miles a week because I was at all there was at the time.
Yeah.
There was no gyms. I really got into the health and fitness when I got a little older. When I got to 21, I was like, I want to go into my 20s, like being as healthy as I can, looking the best or whatever. So I got really into like, shout out to my close friend from high school, one of my best friends, Noah. He's a trainer, and he trains me still to this day. He was like he's the only trainer I've ever had in my life, and he kind of got me in shape a little bit more than I was. But yeah, I grew an interest in running. But yeah, I have ran on that trail in the back. It's a really nice trail,
Dude, it's,
Yeah.
and it extends.
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
it goes to Shaver, past Shaver.
Yeah. How long? It's like 6 miles.
It goes almost to the Zaragoza Puente.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's like it's pretty much half of Alameda that it
Yeah.
runs,
Yeah, basically.
and that's far.
Yeah.
I remember the longest run I did on there was just a 10K. But the way my parents' house was situated, I would start at their house, or I would walk to the trail, which is legit, like what was it, like 400 meters to the start of it. And I would just start at that trail, and I would just go immediately into Escarate. Honestly, I want to start doing that again, probably on Sundays when I go visit them, my family, my mom and my dad, as I want to get there and just run that trail again, because I remember how calm that trail was.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it's not a busy trail.
It's not. You're bumping into
the
like
streets that you're crossing don't really have too much traffic.
yeah. The small amounts of streets that you actually have to cross. There's no one on it.
Yeah.
It's really dead quiet. There was runs that I do on that trail with no music. It just listen. So what I would do is I would start by my house, and then it was exactly 1 mile.
Yeah.
From to the park to
Yeah.
to Escarate. So I would use that as the warm-up mile, and then I would run into Escarate and do the 2 to 3 miles in there or
lake.
around the lake. Bro, no one uses the lake. No, well, I mean, people, the Lower Valley people
walk it and fish, but you don't really see runners.
yeah, the Lower Valley people use the lake because it's so accessible and it's free and
Yeah.
whatever the night, pretty
right
much
there.
the entire time. But I've always told people that were runners to run that lake because one, it's gravel, so it's a little harder. Running on gravel like helps with your calf muscles and your stability because you're pretty much running on loose dirt, and so it's really easy to slip and fall. You kind of have to pay attention to where you're running.
Yeah.
So that is also kind of training you. So when you get onto street running, you feel strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would run around the lake, and then back to that entrance, and that was 3 miles in total. And then the 4th mile would be the 4th mile
Oh,
back.
dude, I'm so glad you know these things, man. I know these distances by heart
Yeah,
too, bro.
yeah.
You ever do the infinity loop around the lake where you do the lake,
Uh-huh.
and then on your way back you do the bigger circle where you cross the handball and all that?
No,
That's like a 5K. It's like 3.5.
So one of the things, I got really tired of running the lake, and then I also towards like the later end of my like little running phase, I was getting tired running
Running
around that
career.
lake. I was getting tired of running around the lake, so I would cut. Instead of going around the lake, instead of going right, I'd go left, and I would just cut across the baseball fields.
Yeah.
And that was a 5K. And then I know that the park closes at exactly 9 p.m. So sometimes I would go out at 8, and it would be I don't know what I was really into it, and I really want to get back into it. Like this month. Right now, I'm like really into weightlifting.
Yeah.
And I feel like with everything, people go through phases of certain things.
Yeah.
Like just with my photography, sometimes I love taking photos of musical acts and concerts and nightlife, and then sometimes I don't want to even think about being in like that environment, but sometimes I got to do it. And sometimes I love taking photos of portraits and corporate and headshots and everything. But yeah, I would cross and do that 5K. Sometimes I would run at night when it was dead silent, no one at the park,
Yeah.
no one on the trail, and then the trails lit up really nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really taken care of. People
Just
should
follow
run
it, bro.
Yeah,
Just follow the lights as they go down.
yeah, it was one of those like kind of just like just you can like really focus on running.
Yeah.
I used running as like a stress reliever, as a to get my mind off of it, to get my mind off of anything. It's funny because when I was running, I thought I was busy, but I had so much free time to run. Now I'm actually like really busy, and all I can get in are 15 to 20-minute runs, if any at all. If I have an option to like run or weightlift, I'll go weightlifting right now currently in the way my life is. But yeah, like I was like, I'm so busy. I gotta go run, get my head off of work. I'm just like running 10Ks like for an hour, like 45 minutes. Like, I had a lot of free time. And everyone that runs also knows it's not just the the 15-minute run. It's like the 5 minutes of stretching and
getting to the spot,
and then it's the 5 to 10 minutes of like catching your breath,
Covering,
and seeing like how well
music.
how well you did. It always ends like a 15-minute run always ends up being a 20 to 25-minute. 30-minute run always becomes a 45-minute. It's always becomes like a thing. And I want to get a treadmill in my apartment. Because I feel like it's just so easy to just get up and just start running.
Super convenient.
Yeah.
Yo, I started hitting a treadmill just out of I was a little sick, and I was just like, man, I've been trying to run every day.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've been trying.
What's your goal?
Just every day.
Just
yeah. Oh, for the year, 1,000. I'm trying to hit
1,000 miles.
Yeah, and then just.
Yo, I got a friend. He's a photographer. His name is Sean. This dude is shout out to Sean. He's like a crazy. He's a really good photographer. Iconic images. But he's more like the concert stuff. This guy will run 100 miles a month, bruh. Like easy.
Dude, that's hard to maintain.
Yeah,
man.
and I shout out to the people that could do that. One of the things he also does is does no sugar for a month, like at all, and that's impressive. Whoa. But yeah, so what are your like 1,000 miles a year for the year?
For the year, yeah. But then there's a dude that I just following him. He actually just posted today. He's like on day 2,445. He just
is his name
Hella
yeah,
good,
dude.
Yeah, dude.
What I am still in touch with is a lot of the running
culture of it.
The running culture.
Man.
Yeah, like Eliud Kipchoge. I remember I saw Eliud Kipchoge's like Ineos 2-hour marathon.
Oh, right.
I remember I saw it live. It was really late at night. When he broke the world record of I think his marathon time. It's not an official record break, I believe, because it wasn't during an actual marathon.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about under 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's
The
insane.
The
bro.
Ineos 159 challenge.
That one counts in my heart, straight up. It don't need to be.
I feel like exactly that shit was. I feel like most people don't recognize how impressive that is as like for our even our human like species like that's that year he won I think in what do you win as an athlete? You win like an award. Like there's like an award show that pretty much just grants like most philanthropic athlete. He won the best athlete of the year because he broke something that was considered by science unbreakable.
Physically impossible.
Yeah, physically impossible. So, so I still keep up with the culture, with the running culture. There was a dude that just did like a under four, like a crazy, like a 3 minute and 50-second, mile or something wild.
So
Something it was like it was one of those. Yeah, what is like the what is it? It's like a four. Yeah, I think he did a mile because he did a.
sub 4 minute mile.
Yeah, he did a sub 4 minute mile. One of those college kids.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was a big thing. He did it like 3:55 or something insanely crazy. Yeah, these kids are getting fast. I don't know how they do it,
man.
I'm still an 8 to 9 pacer.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that's fast for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
like-
a good pace.
yeah.
Yeah, it's above average.
That is fast.
I had a PR today, bro.
Oh, what'd you hit?
5K PR.
Oh, what time?
I forgot what the exact time was, but the pacing was 7:50.
Ooh,
Dude, I was pushing it, bro.
fast.
I was pushing it, man.
750 for the 5K.
I showed David the pacing earlier. It was chaotic. I did an 8:15 and then an 8, and I think at that moment I realized, yo, I'm in PR territory. So my last mile was 7:20.
Oh,
I don't know how I had that kick, bro. I don't know how I had that kick.
You'll be getting that runner's high, bro.
For real, man. So when that half marathon comes up, I can't wait to do that. We've done a couple of them on that trail. I've done a couple half marathons on that trail.
Really?
Yeah, I did one
Oh,
with David.
I remember
and one
when I
alone.
first met you, you had told me that you had just done one recently on the trail. Or remember you told me how to do that on that trail or something.
Maybe not how to do it, but like the route.
The route, yeah, the route.
I'm not giving nobody advice.
No. The route that you take in order to finish that.
Yeah, the second time I did it is what I remember more. I started at Escalate, did a lap, and then I think I went straight into the trail, and then I went all the way
down?
to Shaver.
All the way down,
I did a
okay.
couple laps just to finish Shaver.
Oh.
Now I'll
you don't go-
probably
you
do
don't-
the whole loop around the lake and then start my run. Actually, I did. Yeah, because by the time I hit Cowboy, I was like already like at 5 miles.
You don't do the lake more than once. You only did
Not
it
for
once?
that. Not for that. I felt like it would have been repetitive. The only reason why I did multiple laps around Shaver was because I thought it was gonna start raining, and so along the way I kind of called my dad. I was like, "Yo, you think you just pick me up in case it does rain? That way I don't have to like run back and get caught at like Riverside and still have to freaking like run home."
Yeah, I get that.
I was like, "I'm already at 10 miles, so I'll just finish my shit here at Shaver."
I think recently too, like it's been I remember when I first heard the term hybrid athlete
Oh, I love that shit.
was Nick
Bear.
Bear Bar.
Nick Bear.
Bear?
Yeah, from Austin.
Yeah. Do you know he doesn't live in Austin anymore?
I didn't know that.
He lives in God, where does he live? I forgot where he lives. He lives in Tennessee.
Huh.
Not in Memphis, but in another. I think I forgot what city. But yeah, he moved. He moved out of Texas. I thought that was kind of heartbreaking for me.
Oh, but that's why I liked him a lot.
Yeah,
Just knowing he was from like Austin.
Yeah, he was from Round Rock. So which is like 30 minutes from Austin.
Yeah, North Austin.
Yeah. But I felt like he's like, I consider myself a pretty big like a Texan.
Yeah.
Even though El Paso is really far, is the westmost city in Texas. I'm still like KP, like huge Texas artist. I grew up with all the Texas rap. So when I found out he was from Austin, I was like, oh, that is so dope. Like one of the great athletes is from Texas or whatever. And he moved recently. I try to keep up with him.
You take any of his stuff, any of his subs?
Yeah, I do. I take a lot of actually of BPN. I take his strong reds, strong greens. I take the multivitamin.
Together?
Yeah.
Like one little.
No, my morning routine consists of. What my morning routine consists of is a lot of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have I'll do the strong greens, strong reds first thing in the morning. Then I'll have some sort of protein-filled breakfast, whether it's like Greek yogurt and all sliced almonds and honey, and a shake. And then depending on how I feel, I'll take the multivitamins. Something that I found about his specific multivitamins, it's like a serving size of 4. And I've done the 4, and it just makes me feel like really shitty. So I'll do them 2 at a time, 2 for lunch, then 2 for dinner. And I actually it turns out that multivitamins are supposed to be like spread out throughout the day and not in just like one go. So I'll do that, his multivitamins, and I have his pre-workout that I actually used today. I try to stay away from pre-workout. When I first got into the fitness like stuff, I was like caffeine overload. Like I was taking like a caffeine pill or like a some serious stuff. A lot of pre-workout, like energy drinks, whatever. I had never to that up until I started working out. I had never experienced like anything above 100 milligrams of caffeine. So when I got to 200, 300 milligrams of caffeine, bruh, I had like insane. I liked the shakes. It was crazy. But I mean, I feel like when everyone first starts, that's what they like. That's like immediately one of the first things they do is like overload on caffeine. But I like to keep my caffeine consumption pretty small.
Same now.
Yeah. Today was the first time I had his pre-workout since like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strong shit. It's like 300 milligrams a scoop, and and there's like what is that, DMHA or whatever that like makes you like really crazy, like really
Makes
shaky.
your ears itch.
Yeah, that stuff. It's the itchy stuff. It has like a little bit in it. But I have a tub of pre-workout that'll last me 3-4 months.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool, man. I like that you really take care of yourself to make, because it ties into the whole fact that, you're on some serious shit. You're on some high level shit.
Yeah, I think the only way we can specifically can perform our jobs is if we're healthy, honestly. A lot of times our sleeping schedule, just recently we picked up a client that their hours of operation are 11 p.m. to 4 a.m.
What the?
Yeah, it's tough, bro. It's a specific client that all of the operations happen at night. It's a club. It's a club.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a club in Vegas. It's a high end club in Vegas. It's brand new. It's on the Strip. Shout out to them. That's my family right there right now.
Yeah.
We don't have like a Rolodex of 30 clients that we're working on at the one time. We like to keep it close, like 10.
Yeah.
And those like 10 become like those clients become like cool friends, and there's like good synergy between us and our select few.
Yeah.
And there's really good synergy between this one client. But back to like that working schedule, those like I'll run you through like what something like that looks like. Dinner, like let's say we're in Vegas, and this client is in Vegas, so we'll check into our hotel and whatnot that day. We'll have dinner around like 6 or 7 p.m. and then we'll kind of go back up to our rooms and kind of get ready. Then our call time will be 10 p.m. in an office, and then we'll head out to start shooting at 11 because that's when the club opens. The artist that's performing or anyone doesn't really get off until 3:30, sometimes 4. 4 in the morning, and then we have to turn around all the content by 1 p.m. then that day, pretty much, because we're getting out of the club at 4 in the morning, which is, let's say the club opens on Friday night 11 p.m. It's Saturday morning now at 4 in the morning. We have 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 p.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Actually, don't put that in the video. I'm counting all messed up. We only have like a very minimal hours to get it all done. We'll have to turn in all the work by 1 p.m. so that it can go live on socials and on advertising and on everything by 2 p.m. So whenever we have those jobs, and usually they'll book us back to back, like a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Oh man, we're sleeping from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. and then literally getting up and doing it back to back, like dinner at 7, call time at 10, shooting at 11 to 4. It's not sleeping until 2 p.m., knocking out at 3. That's like the being like a flipped sleeping schedule. That shit's tough. That like messes up with that's one of the probably the hardest things that I've had to do recently for my job is like my sleeping schedule. Yeah. So like you're just living at night, and
you got to make up for it in other areas too,
Yeah, and
some people might have their sleep down, workouts down, and all that stuff, but then like their diet's all fucked up. So like,
yeah, exactly, and it's so easy. I mean, when you get out of the club at 4 a.m., when you get out of the club at 4 a.m., nothing's open. Nothing's open. Like no Chipotle's open, no Cava,
Oh,
no
yes,
nothing.
facts.
You're like the only options are pizza, McDonald's, whatever, and even then sometimes those options are not open. So it's just so easy to just, I mean, like let's just get like the fast food or whatever. But we do try to keep it somewhat clean. But there also are times where we're traveling and we're in Chicago and we want Chicago pizza because we're in Chicago. So I remember one of the from this we went to Chicago for a job this year, and I tried probably the best burger I've ever tried in my life.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy. It's from this place called Au Cheval.
Cheval.
Yeah, it's a diner. It's a diner, and the only thing on the menu is a burger and a bacon cheeseburger. Yeah, and you could either like just do the normal. Apparently, the normal is a double cheeseburger, and then the if you want to add, you can only add like 3 patties. But it was so good. So yeah, whenever we have time to experience a city, we had a time in Chicago.
Yeah.
We pretty much had like a full day there. The client let us choose our flight out, so
That's sick.
we had a full day and we had enough budget to kind of just stay in the hotel for another day.
Hell yeah.
So we explored the city that day.
Have you ever had trouble with the rental where maybe you get like a cracked windshield or something shitty like that happens?
From like a car rental?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened this past week. No, not week, month. We rented a minivan to go to Vegas. For an extent, the reason why we got a minivan is because we were going to be there for almost 12 days. It was 12 days. So we needed a way to move around the city without having to get Ubers for 12 days straight, because that would have been really expensive. That would have blown our budget. So we ended up just renting a car. And on the way to Vegas, a rock hit the windshield and it broke. And yeah, it shattered. It didn't shatter, but like it left a decent sized hole or mark. Then yeah, it's happened to us before, and that's why you get insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance is one of those things that you just have to get.
It's just part of life.
It's just part of life at that point. Yeah, yeah.
That's insane. I went to New Zealand a couple years back, and we were gonna rent a car. It was me and a friend of mine, Kev's, and in order to rent the car, the place needed $1,000 deposit.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "What? I don't have $1,000."
I remember when I was first started getting trying to rent big stuff. One thing that creators should always keep in mind, because it always is such a buzzkill whenever I want to whenever they would tell me, is that if you don't have pretty much just business insurance for your business, or you have gear insurance, they're gonna take a small percentage of what that thing is worth out of your account, in order to hold that as a collateral. If you steal it, if you break it, they have your information ready to go. So a lot of times, I remember when we were first trying to rent out things, we're like, oh my God, like we have money to rent out the camera we've always wanted to use, or the lenses we've always wanted to use, if we didn't have equipment insurance. So it was such a buzzkill. Like, all right, cool. Like, so it's only going to be $100 a day. Like, perfect. That works with us. It's like, all right, so there will be a 10% whatever fee of whatever the value of the, and we're not talking about like nifty 50s. We're talking about like $10,000 lenses and $50,000 cameras. So the 5-10% was still in the thousands. Just to hold. And I mean, we weren't ready to drop $5,000 just to use a lens for the weekend. Right. But yeah, once we started getting the hang of it, we had we ended up getting gear insurance and business insurance and all that, all through LFDC. So whenever we get gear now, just give them a COI and pretty much get it covered.
Yeah.
COI, certificate of insurance.
Yes, sir.
I have a retainer for some marketing stuff.
Nice.
With an insurance company, so I hear those terms sometimes.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's really important. That's stuff that like a lot of content creators don't think about. At some point, if you do want to grow, you kind of have to start thinking about yourself as a business. And with business, if you want to start thinking about yourself as a business, you have to have certain things, whether that's if you want, however you want to do your payrolling, if you want to hire people outside of you, if you want to contract them, how you want to, do all the tax stuff, insurance. So one of the things that we bumped into this past year is that some of the jobs required insurance for insurance coverage for specific things. If you're flying a drone over a crowd or people, like the insurance starts getting really expensive, and very, very, very particular, just because once you put a camera up in the air, that once you put an object up in the air above a crowd, anything can happen. And, the client will not have you on site if you can't assure them that you have the insurance coverage that is necessary if the absolute worst thing happens. So just thinking about all of that, thinking about all your subscriptions, if you have Dropbox, if you have Adobe, if you have DaVinci, actually DaVinci is a one time. If you have anything that's like Cinema 4D or anything that requires a subscription, just having all that in mind and getting all of that into account.
An Excel sheet.
Like all of that, you can start. That's when you start really honing in your rate and your and you know how much your time is worth, because it's not just an hour photo shoot or 2 hour photo shoot. It's the time that you put in before the photo shoot, the actual work, that the talking with the client or talking with the subject, making sure you guys have the right outfits, the right vibe, the right location, doing all the homework on that. If the location requires permits, you have to talk to whoever's loaning out the permits. Then all the time after, editing all the work, making sure it's up to par with whatever the client wanted, or the colors are what the client wanted. Sometimes the client wants something a little bit warmer because it's the summer, and you kind of give them something cooler. And all of that work still has to account for how much you're charging. So that's one of the things noticed about El Paso, is that El Paso rates are very, I wouldn't say low, but very beginner, very rates. So yeah, a very beginner. Because a lot of people don't take that into consideration. That El Paso, the market in El Paso for photographers, is still fairly new and fresh, but it is vast. Something happened between the time of 2018 to now, or 2020, that it's really cool to see. There's just so many creatives. When I first started, you could count them all, in 10 of them. That were really doing it, that were really doing the jobs. And even then, I feel like what we're doing is still pretty fresh and brand new. Like the idea of what LFDC is doing is still pretty fresh for the market. But when I first started, it was David Parrish that was, and Louis Cardenas that were, I considered still one of the best photographers out in El Paso. But their stuff is beauty and portraiture, and they're insanely good in the studio and insanely good at retouching, and they've put in their 10,000 hours on lighting. And that's when I started, that's who I kind of wanted to work with. And these are older guys, and they're still crushing it to this day. I still think they're some of the best photographers in El Paso. But right now, there's just El Paso, I guess the clientele in El Paso right now is it's just so easy for them to just to shop around for prices, that anyone and everyone is just hungry. Yeah,
man, we were just talking about that, how that kind of keeps prices low because everybody's just trying to get the gig.
Yeah, everyone unfortunately wants to undercut everyone, and that shouldn't honestly be like that. The only way for the creator to win is if the creator stays, or the creator stays true to the pricing. And it's just so easy. If you really want the work, it's just so easy. He could do it for $150. I could do it for $100.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same way that person's doing it. Maybe a little bit not as good, but it's still saving you $50. But if it's one of those things that were if everyone kind of just banded together on their rates, it would help the situation. But yeah, that's what kind of keeps El Paso rates a little lower. Now to this day, us at LFDC, we have unfortunately very minimal El Paso clients, just because our schedule is already pretty booked up with external, with out of town clients, which is when we love our out of town clients and we love our El Paso clients. And whenever there's an option, whenever there's an opening for someone new, another thing that we started doing, sorry to keep jumping around, but another thing that I started doing is that we stopped taking clients that were very quick cashy, and I call them quick cashy, where we knew there wasn't a relationship to build, where we knew there wasn't consistent work. It was like a quick, like I just need something done really quick, and I'm probably never gonna hire you again. I'm never gonna hire you again. I'm probably never gonna see you again. We just need some photos, and we like when we were all younger, we were taking a lot of that. We kind of started like making more room in our for clients when we stopped taking those clients, those quick cash clients. That area, they're not looking for someone to build a relationship with. They're not looking for someone to be their media people. They just want quick photos. And there is a large market for that here in El Paso. It's just that unfortunately that we just don't see that like our time being valued with those specific. Like we'd prefer to take on clients that have a potential relationship to grow out of, and maybe they're looking for something, not just something for this one thing to shoot, but moving forward, they're looking for someone to nail this one thing, and moving forward, just continue doing it. Which was a transition in of its own this past couple of years, just kind of just like, lightening up on the El Paso. And I keep saying El Paso clients, if it's a bad thing, it's not a bad thing. There's a lot of potential here in El Paso, especially with business owners and content creators. And there's just so much to do here. And I've been traveling most of this past year, a lot. And unfortunately, I lost a little bit of touch of what the market is like right now. But there's so many so much good content that is coming out of the city. It's like I remember like when we first started, we were like the pioneering was still to be pioneered. Like now every week I see something like that's like really, really good. Like the lighting is really good and the editing is really good. The sound design, everything is really good. And I think El Paso, like the content creators in El Paso are leveling up so much faster than they were when I first started. Yeah. Like the techniques that are being used now are awesome. I just love it. So yeah, I don't know what we're talking about, but we got into it.
Nah, I mean, I kind of answered the question that I had been wanting to hear. Is sort of like, what were your maybe tips, your thoughts on the El Paso photography market at the moment, and like where you think as a community, I don't want to say the word scene, but like as a scene, as a photography community, where we could go and how we can go ahead and improve on that.
Well, I think the scene, the community is in a really good spot. I think it's in a healthy place because right now the content creator kind of has the upper hand with it. Now, when we could go back to talking about like the pricing and whatnot, it's always really good when you can hone in on one creative thing and becoming really, really good at it. If you're a portrait photographer, try learning how to be the best portrait photographer you can be, or best content creator you can be. And that way, maybe what would happen is maybe you can start charging a little bit more for portrait specific projects.
You're a big fan of like niching down?
Yeah, like honestly, if a content creator could, I'm a big fan of it. I also am a big fan of like a multiverse content creator, but I think with the jobs that we're getting to now on our end, and I hope I don't sound too disconnected from like too much without the pulse of like what's going on in El Paso, but what they're asking us now is they're asking us for very specific things that we're really good at, whether it's event capturing with fast turnarounds, or they know that we're really good at e-com photography. So they're going to get us for e-com, and, maybe we lack a little bit in some other things. They're going to get someone else for that. And we're totally okay with that. I think what the El Paso scene needs right now is less a sense of competition and more a sense of community. Like how I was saying earlier, for some reason here, it feels like a competition. I don't know why. I think it's just the undercutting. I wish the undercutting would go away from. I mean, it's in every market too, but for an unfortunate reason, it just feels really strong here.
I think it's probably because the community is like really starting, like you've mentioned right now, is rapidly
so fresh,
growing,
fresh, yeah. So back then they used to bring creatives to El Paso to shoot. Like if there was a large company that had a decent sized budget, they would oftentimes just bring productions from out of town to come shoot it. And I always thought that was really whack. It's because you don't get the true feeling of El Paso. Those out of town productions always come and shoot the same like thing, the scenic drive thing, like the Chicos Tacos, like all that. And I feel like in order to get like a true grasp of whatever like the content is, you got to get someone locally, because they know, like they have their ear to the ground of what's happening. But there are a lot of, it's just so new and so fresh, and it's probably like the freshest photography market there is in anywhere I visited. LA, it's oversaturated. New York, oversaturated. Like there's just so many, and everyone's a photographer, and that's cool too. Everyone is unique in their own style, but I am a big fan of getting into a niche. If you're really good at making car videos, make the best car videos, and that way you can get your pricing like allocated and all that, like really solidly. If you're really good at making,
Porsche can reach out to you, and
yeah, exactly,
because you're an expert.
Yeah,
at car
it's also just like looking like internally, like what do you want to do? Like what ideal client do you want to have? What ideal thing do you want to shoot? And pretty much just trying to learn as much, being much in that environment as possible. Like if you want to be a portrait photographer, maybe sit in on someone you really like. So if you feel like someone is really good in their portraits, ask them like, hey, I'll help you out for free. I just want to get the experience. We do have a lot of that, but I feel like unfortunately right now I feel like I'm speaking to the masses, because I do get a lot of people hitting us up to kind of just like learn
shadow.
Yeah, to shadow. We're always down to have people shadow. Well, what just ends up happening though is like a lot of the stuff that we've worked on are like closed sets, or like where NDAs are required, or something that is like, you know what, that only core members can be allowed to do the one thing. Or we also don't like, we feel bad about free labor. So whenever someone shadows us, we're gonna put that person to work. To be honest, if you're gonna be on the set, you're gonna be there to work.
Yeah,
you're gonna be there PAing, holding your reflectors, trying to make like build stands, build frames, all that.
Getting
like
the experience.
Yeah, getting like the full experience. But we're also gonna try to pay you, because we feel that their time is valuable, even though they are learning and they are getting the experience out of it. But how good does it feel to get something out of that, not just learning? So whenever we have people ask us to get shadowed, it's not that we're saying no, it's just that we want to get like the perfect situation for what that person's trying to do. Maybe that person just wants to get I want to become a better photographer, so I'm not going to invite them to a video shoot because it's not what they want to do. Or you know what, I want to get better editing, and then we'll just figure out some way to help to like maybe shadow us during editing, or maybe we put them to work. If we see something like a relationship potentially going, maybe putting them as an assistant editor, as just like even whatever Edison really needs or whatever I need, maybe pulling proofs for me, sending out selects, all that stuff.
Man, hell yeah, dude, that's badass. Knowledge, bro. Appreciate that for sure. That's a lot of good insight. I want to ask you one more question before we
What's up?
close it out. Where does getting the official clean at AB Gonzalez rank within all your moves throughout your career?
You know what's crazy? That's an interesting question. Geez. I think the history of my handle has always been, I remember my first Instagram handle, and this goes back to like the clothing thing, was so corny. It was supreme.ab. The AB comes from, my mom gave me that nickname when I was a kid. That's where the AB came from. Mm-hmm. And people always ask me if it's Abe or AB. I prefer AB. Abe doesn't really bug me. Abraham is a select few can call me Abraham.
True.
And then my parents don't even use Abraham. They use like Abraham, like in Spanish. But it went from supreme.ab. Then I was like, damn, that's kind of weird that my handle isn't just my name. So I was like, I'm just gonna put AB Gonzalez. Obviously that was taken up. So it was AB Gonzalez with 2 Z's at the end. Is GONZALEZZ. Then I would always be curious who had the AB Gonzalez just flat, just straight. And it was just some random account that probably hadn't been active since the beginning of Instagram. And then out of nowhere, it switched to like a very active account. It was a, I hope I'm not impeding on anyone's privacy, but it was this like girl named Abigail Gonzalez that was in the middle of, like, I've never met this person ever. What I ended up doing was straight up, I messaged that person. I was like, hey, I'm willing to pay you $50 for your handle. And she definitely didn't get 50. She got $100 out of me. Yeah. Tough bargain. But I really wanted that handle. And what ended up happening was we came into an agreement, and this person I still have never met, we agreed to swap handles. What Instagram does now, though, is that
Reserves it for like 2 weeks.
it reserves it for 14 days just in case that person changes their mind. You can't use that handle. So I thought I got scammed, and I was just like, fuck. Like I was like, well, I guess I'm never gonna get this handle. But no, that person and I, we stayed in touch throughout those 2 weeks, and sure enough, on the second that it became the 2 weeks, I was able to grab that handle. And I never really thought of it being important.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you bring it up, I guess it is pretty cool that it's just my name. And now all of my homies have just their name as their handle. Do you remember when handles were just like an extension of your personality?
Yeah, it's like a fashion statement.
Yeah. I think that's like stems from like even like gamer tags.
Yeah,
like
yeah, true.
Just having like your gamer tag being a kind of an extension of your personality. You want to like show immediately who you are through the gamer tag. But I noticed that a lot of like professionals were just using their name, like for example, like AB Gonzalez photography, or Evan Romo director. It was like whatever field you were in. But I just wanted my name, so that's how that's how the name ended up coming around.
I noticed it as soon as it happened. I was like, "Oh, he got it."
Yeah, I didn't really tell anyone. I just told my close friends. I was like, I was really hyped. I was way too hyped for me to have just that name. But yeah, that's how I got my handle.
Badass.
Yeah,
man. I know that you don't really like sell products or anything like that, but is there anything that you want to leave the audience with, other than, hold on really quick before with your answer, if you could just also include where people could find you, LFDC, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
we just talked about.
I don't think there's anything I specifically want to plug. Maybe just plugging our company page, LFDC Studios, spelled as is, LFDC Studios. That's more where you'll find all of our work. I've kind of made my account into just more of a personal account.
Photo dumps?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dumps.
Yeah, that's a thing now, huh?
But like luxury dumps, man. You got some good ones in there, man.
It's honestly what all I due to all the traveling, I'm in some interesting spots sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take my phone and I'll take photos of whatever I think is very interesting or what someone might not see on an average on a daily basis. But yeah, my Instagram became like a little bit more of like a personal Instagram. I still post work on it, but a lot of like more of our work is definitely up to date on LFDC Studios. That page gets updated. Shout out to Crystal. She's our social media manager. She kills it every time. She keeps our page looking great, and she keeps it alive. So it's pretty cool to also have someone that's just not us. We don't really have time to just think about a caption post, timing it, what stories would accompany well, what would look best as a thumbnail. So we decided to get a social media manager, and she's been crushing it.
Dude, badass.
And she's also a really good photographer. Yeah,
she's got that good eye, like that foundational.
Yeah,
thing
that when we were looking for social media managers, I had posted it. I posted it. I was looking for a social media manager for our company. I got 67 responses from people that had never done it before. People that do it professionally, that manage 10 accounts, people from out of town. We actually ended up getting a really big response back. And what I was really looking for is someone with a good eye already.
Yeah.
And someone that is already more in the scene, like in the photography scene, that knows the lingo, that knows all this, because sometimes we invite her to go to the sets.
Mhm.
So she knows like what things are and what not to do, what to do. We didn't want to teach anyone really, honestly. Like we didn't have the time to. We wouldn't have the time to teach this person because us ourselves, we don't even know how to properly social media. This person does though, and she's doing great.
Nice, man. LFDC.
Yes, sir.
Man, thank you so much, bro. We're gonna go ahead and that's a banger episode right there. As always, you know what it is. Legends only in the building.
Absolutely.
AB, thank you so much, man. I know that your time's precious. I appreciate you lending some of it to us.
Absolutely.
And man, that was awesome, dude. You know what it is? Every Wednesday, that's
sir.
what we do. We always bring someone to the HQ to go ahead and get some insight on what they're doing and what we can possibly learn from them.
Absolutely.
But one more time, AB. One more time, LFDC. You know what it is. I'm Evan. We got David back there. You got another episode of Live at MFHQ. Man, that shit got choppy at the end.